So your R&D department is building the future with AI, right? But what if that same incredible technology is also its biggest vulnerability? That's what we're diving into today, the unique security risks that AI brings to the table, and more importantly, how you can protect your company's crown jewels.
All right, before we really jump in, just a quick heads up. What you're about to see is a great overview from our friends at Virtualization Options LLC. Think of it as a launchpad, a way to start a really important conversation. Because let's be real, no two R&D departments are the same. That's why they work with companies to build out custom training that actually fits their specific needs, their risks, and their goals.
And yeah, just so we're all clear, this is a general overview, so no warranty is expressed or implied by Virtualization Options LLC. Okay, now that we've got that covered, let's dive into what we're calling the R&D battlefield.
You know, when you think about it, your R&D department is literally where the future of your company is being invented. It's this incredible treasure trove of intellectual property, and that makes it a massive target. But just how intense is the threat? I mean, really.
Okay, get ready for this. A staggering, and I mean staggering, 78% of organizations have reported AI-specific security incidents inside their research divisions. And that's just in the last 2 years. That is a huge number.
And when a breach actually happens, we're talking about an average cost of over $4 million in intellectual property theft from R&D. That is a painful, painful number, especially when you realize a lot of it is preventable.
And if that wasn't bad enough, here's the kicker. On average, it takes almost 300 days, 287 to be exact, just to discover that a breach has even happened. Think about that. That gives an attacker nearly a year-long head start to do whatever they want with your most valuable secrets.
And this whole problem isn't slowing down, it's speeding up. We're seeing a 3.6 times increase year over year in attacks aimed directly at AI research infrastructure. The threat is literally growing exponentially.
So who's behind all this? Who are these attackers? Well, it's a bit of a rogues gallery. You've got your highly sophisticated nation-state actors, you've got competitors playing dirty with corporate espionage, and you've got the one that's toughest to spot, the insider threat. And here's the real catch-22. The very AI tools that are supposed to be your greatest asset, they're also creating brand new vulnerabilities. All of a sudden, your attack surface is way bigger. The AI's decisions are often happening inside a black box that's hard to understand or audit. And of course, these systems are incredibly hungry for data, which creates its own set of problems.
Okay, so we've laid out the battlefield. It's pretty clear the stakes are high. So where do we even begin to build our defenses? Well, you start with the foundation, and that foundation is your most valuable asset, your data.
Look, it's simple. Not all data is created equal, right? That's why a tiered classification system is so critical. As you can see here, you can go full Fort Knox with air-gapped storage for your critical IP, your crown jewels. But for regular internal docs, standard controls are fine. It's all about matching the protection to the data's value.
So how do you stop that critical data from just walking out the door? That's where a good data loss prevention or DLP system comes in. But you can't just flip a switch. Following these 5 best practices is absolutely key to getting it right. The goal here is that perfect sweet spot between locking things down and letting your researchers actually, do their research. Okay, so data is the fuel, but the AI model, that's the engine. It's the brain of the whole operation. So what happens when attackers stop trying to steal the fuel and just go right for the engine? How do you protect the model itself?
Well, one of the scariest threats out there is something called model poisoning. This is, it's devious. It's like an attacker is secretly poisoning the well that your AI drinks from. They're feeding it bad data to teach it to fail, but only when they want it to. It's a hidden time bomb.
Then there's this crazy stuff called adversarial examples. Picture this. An attacker takes an image, makes a few tiny changes that you and I would never even notice, and suddenly the AI is 99% confident it's something completely different. It tricks the model into making a huge mistake, and the model has no idea it's being fooled.
Now, attackers don't always use the same playbook. It really depends on what they know. If they have the keys to the kingdom, full knowledge of your model, that's a white box attack. It's incredibly effective. But even if they have zero inside info, they can still launch a black box attack, just by poking and prodding your AI from the outside and seeing how it reacts.
So what's the takeaway here? You can't just put one lock on one door. Securing the AI's brain means you need defense in depth. You have to scare the entire training pipeline, from making sure your data is clean at the start,
all the way to actively trying to break your own model with stress tests at the end.
All right, so we've talked data, we've talked models, but all the best tech in the world won't help you if you ignore the human element. At the end of the day, technology is only part of the solution. We have to talk about people, access, and building a real culture of security.
You know that old idea of security being a castle with a big moat around it? Yeah, that's completely obsolete now. It's done. The new model is zero trust, and the philosophy is simple. Assume the bad guys are already inside. You never trust, you always verify. Every single request gets checked, and you only give people the absolute minimum access they need to do their job, nothing more.
And a huge piece of that zero trust puzzle is strong authentication. Let's be blunt. Passwords alone are a joke. They're just not enough. Multi-factor authentication, combining something you know with something you have and something you are, it's not a nice to have anymore. For R&D, it's completely non-negotiable.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the data, the models, the people, you realize something really important. Security isn't a project you finish and check off a list. It's a living, breathing program that has to evolve just as fast as the threats do.
And a really effective program looks like this continuous cycle. You're always assessing risks. You're actively protecting assets. You're constantly monitoring to detect problems. And you're ready to respond and recover when they happen. But maybe the most important step is that last one. You improve. You learn from every single event to make your defenses stronger.
Which really brings us to the final big question you should be asking yourself. When you look at your R&D security, is it just a static checklist you dust off once a year? Or is it a living, evolving strategy? Is it a culture that can adapt and innovate just as fast as your researchers can?
Because, as we've seen today, securing AI and R&D isn't something you can buy off a shelf. It's not a one-size-fits-all product. It has to be a bespoke process. So, we hope this overview from Virtualization Options LLC has been a useful starting point for that conversation.